Hello friends, welcome to the video. My name is Michelle and I am super excited today. I technically just wrapped up the vlog you're about to watch, so I can tell you that it is full of amazing stuff. I read so many good books in this vlog, but the whole premise of this vlog is looking at the Goodreads list that they published a few months ago at this point, where they talked about the most read and most loved books, most popular books of 2025 so far, as far as 2025 releases go, so it's all 2025 releases. And I was really excited to do this vlog, and for good reason. I literally find my favorite book of the year in this vlog. I'm just gonna put it out there. It is what happens in this video. It's not even clickbait. I made a list. I looked through the list with you in a little bit in the first clip that I filmed officially for this vlog. I was so excited to do this vlog that I filmed that weeks before anything even happened because I just really wanted to get on it. I was so excited about the idea and about the books. And yeah, it turned out pretty great. There's like a TBR jar thing to it, and I read 5 books. That's 10. I read 5 books in this vlog, and I just had a really cute time with everything. So I hope you join me on this ride. I just felt like I should intro this because I never properly even spoke to you about anything. I was just literally so hyped that I had to do it on the spot as I could. So yeah, I'm doing that now, and I'm gonna roll the clip where I talk about the books, pick the books. Some of the things that I say in the first clip, like only read one book per genre, like those didn't really happen necessarily, but I don't mind because I feel like everything turned out for the best. And I truly had a stellar time. So I hope you enjoy. Grab a beverage or something, or popcorn, something of your choice. Because if you plan to watch this whole thing, you're probably gonna be here a while. Have a good time. I had a really good time, and I hope you stick with it. Fingers crossed. And I'm gonna go and let you watch the rest of this as it unfolds. I wish I could read some of these for the first time again. I'm not gonna lie to you. Yeah, I will see you literally in just a second. It is currently July 27th, maybe 28th. Yeah, 28th. Okay, I don't know my days anymore. It's fine. Corporate life is killing my soul. Hello. I have not done the intro to this vlog. I'm not even going to start reading for this vlog for the next few days at least, because this is supposed to be my August project. But I just cannot hold it in anymore. I really want to look at the books I'm gonna be reading, and I want to figure it out. I want to know if there's anything that I actively want to get physically. I just want to know things, okay? Let's talk about what I would like from this video, because there are certain books that have come out this year that I have not read, but I really want to. So what I'm counting on being on these is things like whatever the new Emily Henry is, which I will be tempted by it, even though I still haven't read Funny Story and it's literally on my shelves. I think the new Abby Jimenez will be on here, which I hated, so I'm not gonna be a big fan of that. I would love for Buffalo Hunter Hunter to be on this list because I really want to read that. I want the book, what is it called? Wild Dark Shore. I want that to be on this list. And there was one more book that I wanted to say that I hope is on this list. What is that? Atmosphere. I have sworn off Taylor Jenkins Reid in the past because I did like Evelyn Hugo somewhat. I really did not like Daisy Jones and the Six. I think that book sucks, man. I cannot tell you otherwise. So I never bothered with her other newer releases. Atmosphere is making people cry, and I need a good cry. Always, even though I literally was sobbing my eyes out as far as yesterday because of the new Holly Jackson. It happened, okay? I was sobbing like a baby. My girlfriend is a witness to this. We were buddy reading that together, and I was an absolute horrendous mess. That's what I'm hoping for. We'll see what happens. I do not have a specific goal. I would like to take about 5 books from this list, and I want those to be from different categories. I would like to not pick multiple from the same category, so we will do our best to do that. I have had this tab open on my still little laptop for like a good month or two. Ever since this list came out on Goodreads, I've had it open. June 2nd, 2025 is how long I've had this open, and I still have not even looked at it. Let's peruse and let's figure out what on earth is happening. Do I care about Goodreads? By the way, not particularly. I barely use it anymore. But I cannot resist a good list, I just can't. It's like with the best books according to New York Times, and then the best movies according to New York Times, which I've seen so many of those. You can tell that I went to film school when I was going through. I think I saw like 80% of those. Let's just go into it. Okay. Contemporary fiction, and I immediately see Wild Dark Shore. Okay. It's happening for me. Y'all, it's happening for me. Then we have My Friends by Frederick Bachman, which I really do not care about Frederick Bachman, and neither do I care about Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. That girl is a transphobe, and I don't care for it. So we will not be doing that. Jojo Moyes, Likewise. Oh, but then we have The Emperor of Gladness by Ocean Wong, which I literally freaking own. Remember when I said I didn't want to take multiple books from the same category? I would like to take it back. With historical fiction, oh god, we do have atmosphere. A love story, even. I've heard it's sapphic. That's literally 85% of the reason I want to read it. The other 15% is that I think it's gonna make me cry. I have not heard of those or of those. I have heard of Isola, but then I decided not to read it. Don't ask me why. With romance novels, obviously we have Great Big Beautiful Life. That's the new Emily Henry that I couldn't remember the title of. We have Deep and Out by Ali Hazelwood, which again I have like zero interest in Ali Hazelwood. It's just too straight for me. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it just seems like straight up straight romance, and I don't care for those. I really don't. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I would care so deeply about Ali Hazelwood. Tell me if you think I'm wrong. Then we have Sell You Remember Me, which I read and didn't like. And then we have The Favorites, which I wouldn't even call a romance. But I've read that too. How have I read 2 romances and nothing else off of the list? Okay, I don't even think that's a romance. I will die on that hill. Mysteries and thrillers, I don't care much for. Frida McFadden is something I will probably never read. Same with Alice Feeney, actually. I've heard too many mixed things. I just do not care enough to make my own opinion on those. And I have read Geneva Rose before. Hated it so hard. Heartwood, don't know what it is. Fantasy novels, Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soul. Now that's a good contender. Then we have The Devils, which I don't care for. The River Has Roots is a really good contender. I'm not gonna lie. How to Lose a Time War is an incredible book. A Drop of Corruption, I would have to read A Tainted Cup, which I do own, but I'm not gonna read right now. With Romantasy, Onyx Storm is not gonna happen. The Night and the Moth, I low-key want to read that. I cannot explain to you why. I don't think I would love it, but I also think that I would absolutely eat it up. So that's a contender. Shield of Sparrows, who is she? I don't know. Emily Wilde, I have not read any of them. Sci-fi, we have Death of the Author, which I own. So that's something. John Scalzi, I don't care for. The Dream Hotel, I've read an excerpt, you know, how you can get those samples, and the writing didn't grab me. The premise is really interesting to me, but truly, the writing it did not do anything for me. I did not care even like a smidge about it at all. But maybe I'm wrong. Tell me if you think I'm wrong. And then we get to horror. I spied it. I saw it. That's so exciting. Okay, so we have Witchcraft for Wayward Girls, which, funny story, because I'm not really vlogging like everything that I touch and read. I did pick up Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. I DNF'd that bitch so hard. Grady Hendrix and me, I don't think we're gonna ever be friends. I would love for us to be friends. That's why I tried with Grady Hendrix. It's not gonna happen. I hated it so much. You don't even know. That's why I DNF'd it. You know it's bad when I DNF the shit. Then we have the Buffalo Hunter. It's happening. I think you can tell I'm reading that one. Bed Eater and Other Names for Cora Zhang I have read and I really liked it. And then we have When a Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy, which I own Mary and Awakening of Terror, and I have owned it for multiple years at this point. Still have not read it, and I need to read that first. For some reason, I just have this mental wall when it comes to Nat Cassidy, where I really want to read all of his releases, but I really want to start with Mary. I do not know why, but it's just something that in my brain makes sense, and I just know that I need to read that book first. And before that happens, I cannot read anything else by him. Not even the novella. It doesn't work like that for my brain. I will also talk about young adult because I do read it sometimes. I mean, we do have Sunrise on the Reaping, which I read and loved, just like everybody else this year. Rebel Witch, I don't know her. Fearless, I don't know her. Oathbound, I would have to read the second Legendborn first, and I'm not gonna do that. Memoirs, shockingly, I have read The House of My Mother. It was fine. Hi, yeah, that's a microphone. You approve? Okay. I hope you had a good experience with that ASMR. It was my pleasure. General nonfiction. I really do want to read One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against Us. That's a contender for sure. That's a contender for sure. And that's all. Okay. So we have, I think, multiple books that I want to read. So One Day Everyone Will Have Been Against Us. That's 1. Buffalo Hunter. That's 2. Death of the Author. That's 3. The Night and the Moth, maybe. That's 4. The River Has Roots. That's 5. Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soul. That's 6. The new Emily Henry, that's 7. Atmosphere is 8. The Emperor of Gladness is 9. And Waldark Shore is 10. That's double what I want to read in this vlog. Oh, fuck. Okay. I'm gonna have to make a list and I'm gonna have to think real hard. And then we're gonna have to make some executive decisions. But I think I'm going to take a little breather from that and let that simmer. It's good that I wanted to do this early. I think I low-key knew in the back of my mind that this would maybe happen. And I would want to consider my options first because I think I knew that it would be more than five. That would be the ideal world, wouldn't it? If I came out of this with five picks immediately, like perfectly, exactly. It's not gonna happen. I knew life wouldn't be that easy, so I'm gonna have to do some thinking. I'm certain of like three things maybe, but the other two are really up in the air, and I'm not gonna take up on a 10 book vlog. It's just not going to happen. If you will want to see any of the other ones, like let me know. I can do a part two. But we need to focus on like priority stuff that I actually really want to read and I think will be like 5 stars. So we'll talk in a bit. For you, a second. For me, like 7 mental breakdowns later, because I'm gonna really have to consider my options. Anyway, that being said, I'm so freaking excited. Whereas maybe I should do like a TBR jar. Oh my god. Okay, ADHD brain is like going right now. Like, what should I do? What should I do? What should I do? I don't know. First of all, I'm gonna try and calm down. That's probably the best order of things to do. Anyway, okay. Yeah, that's all. I'm in turmoil right now. Okay, I'm gonna procrastinate on this for another 5 days, I think, because that was a lot. Hope you're enjoying so far. This is literally 10 minutes of me yapping and just being completely unhinged, as I usually am. I hope you're having a great time. Oh my god, I am. I'm so excited because regardless of what this is, these are going to truly be books that I genuinely want to read, and I'm so stoked. Oh my god. Watch me cave and read when Wolf comes home. Oh my god, I'm terrible. I need to end this. Okay, bye. We haven't spoken about a week and a half, I would say. I've read like 3 or 4 books in the meantime. But it is the 8th day of the 8th month of the year, and I figured out that it was time to start this vlog because I'm still so freaking excited for it. When last time I spoke to you, I could not make up my mind about what I wanted to do and what I wanted to read, and that stayed true. Nothing about that changed at all, and therefore I figured out a different way of doing this. I purchased some books. Okay, blame me if you want to, I don't really care, but I did purchase some books. Some of those were also some of these new releases that I spoke about in a previous clip. I could have just been like, let me just, you know, select from the ones that I own physically, but I was like, nah. No, I can still get an ebook. Like, it's not a problem. I stayed with 8 titles. I just could not make any more cuts. 8 books are what I came down to that I want to read, and I will probably read after this video is over because I just genuinely am interested in them, and why shouldn't they be on my TBR anyway? You know what I mean? I didn't want to limit myself. But 8 books is not enough for a spinner wheel. I think it's pretty boring for a spinner wheel, and it's also not enough for a random number generator. And I also just did that, and I do not feel like doing that. I literally started a different vlog doing a random number generator, and I didn't even finish that one because it just was not bringing me joy anymore. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back into our old ways of booktube, and I'm just gonna bring in a mug, and I'm gonna write down those titles. Well, my girlfriend did because she's a nerd. I'm gonna write down those titles and I'm just gonna pull them out of a jar, old-fashioned, and I think that's what's gonna bring me joy. And to really like bring the nostalgia vibes where they need to be, they're in my Gerard Way mug that I had made in a very, very shady place. Like, I mean, look at the quality of this, you know? But at the same time, I've had this for like, what, 17 years? Or something like that, and it's barely scratched from the dishwasher. So at the same time, not the worst quality of product, I guess, just of the visual. But I figured this is a match made in heaven, so to speak. The 8 titles that I kept in the running are as follows. I have Wild Dark Shore, which I do not own physically, but I am more than okay reading the ebook. The Emperor of Gladness, which I do own. Atmosphere, which I also now own. So many people are crying over the book, and I want to cry too. I really hope that I pull this one out because I'm still going to be only pulling out 5. I really hope I pull this one out. I want to cry with everybody else. It's, yeah, I need it in my life. Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soul is also a book I now own, which nobody is even surprised. The River and Its Roots, or whatever it's called. I cannot remember the title of that book for the life of me, and that's because I once upon a time wrote a fanfic that had a very similar title that I'm not gonna say out loud because I stupidly only orphaned those works so that you can still find them on AO3, and I don't want you to do that.
So we're not going to be sharing the title, but it's very similar to that. I always think of the fake title instead of the book title, and it trips me up every time because it's not the same, it's just similar. One Day Everyone Will Have Been Against Us, which is the one nonfiction that I really want to read. I have the Buffalo Hunter Hunter, which I now also own. That's cool, that's fun. And then the Death of the Author and Author by Nnedi Okorafor. You know which one I mean. I have that physically. It's one of the most beautiful books. I love it because it prominently features a disabled character on the cover. And even if Illumicray does a lot of things wrong, they did that one thing right. So those are the 8 books that I have in the running. I already have them on little pieces of paper because, like I said, my girlfriend was even more excited for this than I am apparently. And she was like, let me write it down. I'm not wearing my silly little mic because I forgot. So you're not gonna get like the real ASMR situation here. However, I am gonna reach deep. Imagine if it's atmosphere. Imagine if it's atmosphere. I would absolutely scream my lungs out. Which one are we gonna go with? I think I'm gonna go with this one. Did I pull out one? Yeah, I did. I have no idea what's on these. I don't know if I'm holding it upside down. I cannot even read them. What is that? What is that read? What? Can you, what? Apparently The Death of an Author, which is I feel like this is a dark horse of the competition. I read Benti by Nnedi Okorafor. I really liked it, but not enough. I wanted more. So that's why I was very greedy and excited to read this book. And honestly, I sang the praises. Let me quickly go and get that book. I'm here with my book. It kind of matches my dress. Shut the fuck up. Maybe I manifested this in some way. I mean, you cannot properly see, but it's the same colors. I totally manifested this, I think. Do I know what this is about? Friends, no. You should know at this point, or if you're new here, you will know now. Vibes only. We operate on vibes only here. All I know is that this is a book within a book, or there's a book within a book. Honestly, that's all I know. This is, like I said, the Starbright, is that what it's called? Edition that Illumicray does for sci-fi. Randomly, I have this. Beautiful. I love this cover so much. And I also love... Excuse me? This is one of the prettiest editions that they've ever done, I think, like, crazy. We're weirdly starting with the sci-fi category. Not something that I read very often. Not something that I fuck with very often, but when I do, I really do, and then it's like my favorite thing in the whole wide world. So I'm hoping that this is the same situation. Other than that, I really don't know what to tell you right now because, again, we operate on vibes only. But I'm very excited to read something long form by Nnedi Okorafor. Is really exciting to me. Okay, it smells so good as well. Oh my god. Okay, I need to calm down. Ooh, I am going through it right now apparently. Anyway, I have book. I'm excited about book. I will talk to you about book once I've read a little bit of book. Take a shot every time I say book.
I was about to update you in the same freaking room for like the 3rd time in a row, and I realized that I was not having that, even though my camera is at 9%. Today is a really lovely day outside, so I figured I would plop my ass on the grass and give you an update on my book. I am about halfway through, I think 52% of the way through Death of the Author, and I'm having a very interesting experience with it, and I just figured I could check in with you, talk to you about it for a little bit, and not think about the real world around me for the time being. Death of the Author, I had no idea what it was about other than, like I said in the previous clip, that it was somehow a novel within a novel. And it kind of is. I wouldn't say like 100,000%, but 75%, I would say. On the one hand, it is about Zelu, who is a paraplegic. Is that how you say that in English? I have no idea. Sometimes English is hard, and that's okay. And also a writer. But at the beginning of the book, she feels like a failed writer, and it was really difficult to read because girly same. I also feel like a failed writer every day of my freaking life. It was hard to read because I related to a lot of the things that she was saying about how she didn't feel recognized, and not just in terms of writing, but also just as a person in a workplace that was not benefiting her. And I just related way too hard to her struggles when it came to those two things. Obviously, I am able-bodied, so I couldn't relate to her fully on that, in that regard. But with everything else that was going on, with how she felt like she could never write anything good, and how at the same time whatever she did at work was not good enough, I was like, maybe this is too close to home right now. And I genuinely considered, when I was on page 36, I genuinely considered putting it down because it was giving me a lot of frustrated and sad feelings. But then I persevered, and I'm glad I did. Because then Zelu when she's really low. Like, she considers it one of the lowest points of her life, like really, really low. She just sits down and writes whatever comes to her first, almost like a fever dream. And she writes a story that she calls Rusted Robots, and it is just everything that's going on inside her mind. It is about AI, it is about technology, biotechnology, all that stuff, and it's about robots and how even robots in this world are kind of split into different classes and how they view each other. And then you also get snippets from the book. It's a very interesting reading experience because they are so different tonally, these two stories, but I think they work. I almost prefer the robot one, but I feel like that's on purpose. I will say that every single gripe that I had with this book, because sometimes reading Zelu's storyline felt so unrealistic. I was not a fan of some of the grammar choices, like the exclamation mark. Some of the sentences felt almost cringe. But then at the end of the day, every single one of those things felt like it was done on purpose and that it was meant to be that way, and that these two storylines are exactly as they were meant to be. Like, every single thing about this book feels like a direct decision from Nnedi Okorafor, and I respect that so much. I feel like this is either going to knock my socks off by the end of it, or it's going to be a very solidly read that I will rate highly. Even if I don't enjoy it subjectively, I feel like I'm going to see so much merit in it objectively. There are books that they are like an emotional 5 star, and then there are books that are just like 5 stars because you cannot believe that somebody sat down and wrote something so cohesive and so good. And I feel like this is going to be one of those instances. I'm not calling this a 5 star prediction. I'm too scared to do that. I think it's going to be like a strong 4 with a heart if we were on Letterboxd. But regardless of that, I am having a lot of fun. I feel like a lot of people are going to struggle with Zelu, not just for racist reasons, but I'm sure a lot of people are going to do that for racist reasons. But what I love Zelu for is that as a main character, she's more of an antagonist in her own story than a protagonist, and I kind of love that. I love when a character is very ambiguous, ambivalent. I would never call her a villain or a bad person, but she's definitely not one of those brilliant, perfect, flawless characters. She is so flawed, and she makes stupid, rash decisions. She does stupid things, but at the same time, at every turn, you can understand why she makes those decisions and why she's acting the way that she is. And I find that to be a feat of writing, and I'm enjoying it immensely. At the same time, I'm very confused about my reading experience from the enjoyment point of view because I don't know how much I'm enjoying this novel. I think I'm gonna have to literally wait until the very end to make up my mind, and I do not know. Anyway, my camera is flashing 3% at me, so I think it's trying to tell me that maybe that's enough yapping and maybe I could go read instead. That's a possibility. Life is difficult sometimes. I'm going through some things. Not in my personal life, more like in my work life. My personal life is thankfully fine as hell, and so is my girlfriend. Have you seen her? I mean, come on. More like work stuff. Maybe life will be difficult. Maybe it won't. I really don't know what's happening, but it's a Monday. It's another weekend of life. I hope you are having a semi-good day wherever you are, because I feel like that's all that we can aim for with the state of the world that we live in. But I hope you're doing okay. I hope you have something to look forward to in your life. I hope you did something today that brought you joy, or that something happened that brought you joy. And if not, the day's not over. It could still happen, and even in the next 60 seconds. You never know. Hi, good morning. It's like 5 p.m. I am filming on my phone, and I apologize for everything. However, I forgot to charge my camera, and I finished my book, and I cannot read another book until I pick the book, but then I have to update you first before I read a book. So honestly, it's just an overall crap time. So is everything in life. Please just excuse my everything right now. Let me quickly talk about Death of the Author. I talked about this book to my boss today, and I told him the ending of this because he was like, I cannot read English, so I'm not going to read it. Can you spoil it for me? So I did, and his mind was blown. When I told him what happens in the last page and a half of this book, he literally stood up from his chair, walked around for a couple seconds, and his mind was genuinely blown. It was an incredible time for me. Good times all around. I was not so blown away by it. It's a neat thing, but it kind of came across as a gimmick. However, on the other hand, it totally brings back what I was talking about in a previous clip where I was like, some of these sentences are kind of cringe, but I think they're on purpose. And they totally were. It's not like I saw it coming, because I kind of didn't, honestly. And it does make sense with everything else that was there. Still feels a little bit like a gimmick. I love a good gimmick. This book is still 4 stars. Please don't get me wrong. It is still 4 stars. It's a nice cyclic moment, and I feel like it had so much to say about so many different topics, which honestly is a feat, I feel like, most of the time. It talks about, I think I talked about this, it talks about classism, it talks about identity, it talks about disability, it talks about owning yourself regardless of whether you are flawed or not, and demanding respect from other people and being frustrated and mad when you don't get it, which honestly is such a power move. And it's raw. The main character is so strong, but in a different way than you might anticipate from a main character or a protagonist in a book like this, in this genre. Overall, I think it was really successful. I still prefer the robot storyline, which apparently is a controversial opinion. I looked at some Goodreads reviews when I started this book a few days ago, 5 or 6 days ago, and so many people are saying that they didn't care for that storyline at all and that they were really only invested in the modern current day storyline. Hi, puppy. Not me. I really did not care for it that much. I feel like the robot story was more entertaining, which is strange for me to say because I'm not normally a robot girly. I really do not care for that stuff in general, like generally speaking. I think it was really strongly written, and I think that the narrative kind of overshadows everything else, including the characters. Some of the relationships and dynamics are pretty stereotypical. You will not see anything that extremely original here, especially with the robot storyline, but I liked it. It felt comforting. I think maybe that's why I liked it, because it just felt like a story that I've already read and I was coming back to, and that felt very comfortable. The characters in the modern storyline are not characters that you would normally read about, and that is enjoyable in its own way because I feel like that is very innovative and that is very unique, and I feel like that's what makes Nnedi Okorafor a very strong author for me, is that she just knows how to mix these things and make them new to you. So even though there were some things that were stereotypical, they still brought a lot of fresh stuff to the table. And I enjoyed that. Like I said, 4 stars, kind of like I predicted. I don't know that I would give it a heart on Letterboxd, but it's definitely a very strong 4 star read for me. I enjoyed my time with it, and I'm glad I read it. And I still adore this cover, and I still adore a lot of this book. I feel like I'm not doing it justice. I'm talking a lot about like the technical stuff about it, but please know that I just like was absorbed by the story. Even when I wasn't reading it, I was low-key thinking about it and thinking about the characters and what Nnedi Okorafor is trying to say. And I guess it made me think more than feel, which is a super valid experience, but those books are never going to be 5 stars for me because I need to feel shit. It's difficult to make me feel shit. That's why I give very few 5 stars anymore. But yeah, it was fantastic in its own right. And if it made me feel, this would have been a 5. I feel like the main character especially is such a fascinating one. I could talk about her for hours probably, because she makes so many decisions that you will not agree with as a reader, or decisions that you will question and you will think about. But I think that's what's so fascinating. Like, this character will not leave my mind. I think he's one of the strongest written characters that I've read this year, and that's fantastic. That's a good time. That is one book down. We have 4 more to go. I have my little Gerard Way mug here for reasons, because obviously, let's figure out what we're reading next. I'm still vibing for atmosphere. I cannot even lie to you. That. Oh, okay. Funny, because I was driving home from work. I finished this book yesterday, by the way, Death of the Author. And I was thinking to myself, what else would I pick for myself right now in this moment? And that's the book I thought of in the car today on my way home. We're back. I picked The Emperor of Gladys by Ocean Vuong, which I am super stoked about. I read On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous, and I loved that book. I think it's an incredible book that is written in such a precise and specific way, and it's exactly what it needed to be, in my opinion. But premise-wise, this works better. I read the premise of this in December when I was compiling a list of things that I wanted to read this year, and this was on that list. So I looked into the summary. I was like interested because Ocean Vuong has come out with a couple of poetry collections, which I do not read because I just do not understand them that well, and I will never enjoy them to their potential. So I just don't read them because it wouldn't give or do the book justice if I read them and rated them and reviewed them. But I read into this, and from what I remember, there's a person who is young and a person who is older. I think the younger one is a man, and then the older one is a widow, maybe. And they are both done with life, and they meet. Their paths cross. From what I remember, I could be totally wrong. Their paths cross, and they kind of affect each other's lives, like to the point of completely changing the trajectory of their lives. So I am super stoked to read this. It's going to probably take me a little longer, though at the same time, On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous was such a fast read because I just never wanted to stop reading it. So we will see what happens, but I feel like this is a 5-star prediction for me, y'all. I'm not even gonna lie. If this is 5 stars, I'm going to scream and shout and hopefully cry, and that reminded me of a Destiel fanfic I read many years ago. Why did I say the words twist and shout together? That made me feel, you see? So anyway, this mic is about to explode in my hands like a little bomb. So I'm going to gently rest it, and I'm going to leave you be, and I'm going to yap at some other time. Yeah.
Okay, the heat wave is over. It's a pleasant 25 degrees Celsius outside today, which means that I finally got some reading done. I literally read 50 pages of this book over 3 days, and it had nothing to do with the quality of the book, so I didn't even want to update you. Also, yeah, it's Sunday. My hair is wet completely. Like, we're trying to do life. Anyway, I figured I should talk to you about The Emperor of Gladness, the book I picked, because I am about 150 pages into it, and you know I like to do like an overview, thoughts, and then wrap up the book. I also realized that there's like 0 b-roll in this vlog. I will try to remedy that, but I cannot promise anything because I just am not vibing with b-roll right now, and that's okay. As for this book, let's talk about it. I don't know how I'm going to talk about it, but we're going to do our best. The Emperor of Gladness on the surface, okay? It is about a young boy who is 19 at the beginning of this book, named Hai. He, at the beginning of this book, is making his way in a storm across a bridge, thinking of jumping. And as he's about to do it, an older woman yells at him to get off immediately and to come over. And she essentially feeds him, clothes him, tells him to sleep and this and that, bed, and that's it. And they kind of decide to take care of each other. He's obviously troubled. There are a lot more things that he's going through that are not necessarily in the summary, so I don't necessarily want to give it away and tell you everything, but I guess trigger warning for drug abuse and mentions of drug abuse and going to rehab and stuff like that that have very much to do with the main character. And then the elderly woman, she is originally Lithuanian, and she has like middle stages dementia. She has been diagnosed for a while now. She lives alone. Her husband died a few years back, and she has a daughter and supposedly a son somewhere, but we don't know where. We don't know anything about them. And they kind of take care of each other. I did say in the previous clip that I thought it was about these two kind of like altering each other's lives in a way, and yeah, in a way that's true, but it is so much more rooted in reality than I thought. I thought it would be like Harold and Maude, if you've ever seen that film, without like the weird romantic subplot that was present there. And in a way it is, but it's only really in glimpses. Otherwise, it's so much more of a commentary on 2010's America. The way that he takes care of her, right? Because she has so many medications that she has to take, and she doesn't remember half the time because her brain just doesn't work as it used to years ago. And tell me if this is correct if you're in the US and you feel like commenting, because that is something to me. Like, she had a lived-in nurse, but then the lived-in nurse, like, this is all because of her health insurance and everything, like she didn't have to pay for it. And then the lived-in nurse decided to get married, as you know, is a normal human thing to do, and move states. She, I think, went to New Mexico from Connecticut, and now she has to wait, the Lithuanian lady, she has to wait for somebody else to come in and live with her and be another live-in nurse. But apparently that can take months, that can take a year, that can take, I don't know how long, nobody knows. And you're just supposed to take care of yourself in the meantime if you don't have any family members. That is, what is that? Is that a reality over in the US? Are you really that fucked of a country? Like, I know you are, but to this extent, please clarify in the comments. Anyway, so he's kind of there to, you know, help out a little bit with the money and to make sure that she's taking the meds that she's supposed to be taking. But there are also so many moments where she obviously goes into, you know, sort of state where she doesn't know where she is. She thinks it's 1944 in Lithuania. She's really old, by the way. And she thinks that her brother is dying, that they're being bombed. Like, she's clearly very much still in the past in those moments, and he doesn't really know what to do. Like, he's not a practicing nurse. He never even went to like medical course, nothing. So he does his best, and those moments are terrifying and funny at the same time. When I read the beginning of this and I read a review that said that this book was laugh out loud funny, I was like, are we reading the same thing? Because the opening pages are so serious and so melancholy. But yeah, 100% it's also funny. And then it's also about him trying to find a path in life, because he's really struggling with that, which valid with everything that's going on in his life. Like, he really doesn't know what the hell to do with himself. And he decides to find a job at this like casual fast food place where his cousin works. And it's about them. It's kind of a found family vibe. We just had a Thanksgiving situation. I don't know. That is one thing. That's like the surface level plot. And I feel like that already is so much to take in, and I feel like it's doing such a good job of like depicting those things and discussing all those things. And I feel like it talks so much about what it's like to live when you're not affluent in any way, and you are trying just to make ends meet while you're also struggling mentally. And that can take many forms and shapes. And I don't know, it's just like hitting a nerve. And if you were wondering how much I'm enjoying this book, that's how much. I'm literally on page 156 and I have so many tabs. This is for funny moments. Yeah, you cannot see the difference in the color, I don't think, but there's a couple of them that are like slightly more purple than the other ones, or slightly more vibrant than the other ones. But even when I'm not reading this book, I will sometimes just grab it. Well, I don't know, I was just watching a booktube video, by the way, and I just randomly grabbed this book and like flipped back and read a few of the things that I tabbed, because I just think that this is written so well. I already liked On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous, I told you that, but this is a whole nother level. I think you can tell because I've been talking about this for like 7 minutes or something like that. And I don't know, the writing in this, when I read it, I just want to keep reading it. Like, it completely pulls me in and sucks me in, and I don't even realize that I'm flipping pages or that any time is passing as I'm reading this. And I am so scared that, like, what if it's not 5 stars in the end? But it is absolutely a 5-star prediction. I am having like the best time. This is, I don't know, I feel like I am reading a book that is fully nourishing my soul in every way. I don't know how to fawn about it and how to fangirl. It's like a very serious experience at the same time. But I am truly feeling like this is nourishing me and feeding me. I don't know how else to explain it. That is all I can say about it. I'm really curious the state I'll be in when I finish this. If this book, about the way that it's written and what it's about, because that already is like a huge pull for me. If this book on top of that makes me cry, I don't know how I will cope and how this will not be the best book of the year for me. I do not know at this moment in time. And I am flabbergasted, like my flabber is gasted fully, then more people are not talking about this. I know that On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous is relatively popular, but I feel like this is kind of going under the radar so far, and I don't know why. I think it's better. I said it. I think it's better. I think it's fantastic. I really, really like it so far. I'm so scared about how it's gonna go and whether it is going to remain that good for me, but if it is, that will be the highlight of my next week, I guess. And then where do we go from there? If this is the best book of the year, is this vlog just gonna go up? Are the stakes that high, or is it just gonna go down from here? Should I put this down and pick up something else? I don't know. No, I couldn't do that to my heart. I'm just gonna keep reading this, and then when I'm done with it, I'm going to update you. But just please know that this is like altering my brain chemistry in some very subtle way. I feel like it's not even translating, and I'm not even feeling it that strongly, but like in my heart of hearts, I can tell. Sunday scaries are real, so I'm gonna go do something else and read for a bit before like going to bed. But I just felt like talking to you, as you can tell by the length of this update. Yeah, I just want to keep this book open and just like keep flipping and keep reading, because it's really good so far. I have a book hangover the size of Mount Rushmore, and this is the only way, this is the only proper way that we can do this. It's also almost 11 p.m, so my energy is a little low, especially after the cry fest that I just went through.
because of this motherfucker. I literally apparently have lost my voice due to the proceedings of the Continental Congress. I don't know. So I understand what people mean when they say a 6-star book now, apparently, because I didn't up until this point. I've been struggling to give anything a 5. I went to give this a 5 on Storygraph, and I genuinely opened up the second little roll down bar where you can give the 0.25, and I was like trying to give it more than 5. Didn't work, but genuinely tried. My emotional support dog entered the room as well. I do not know how to talk about this book. It's been many years since the last time this happened. This had a great emotional impact on me, in case you haven't gathered as much. And I don't know. It made me feel everything. It made me laugh. It made me cry. It made my heart break, but it also put it back together. It was like chicken tender, you know? I don't know. It was great. It was excellent. Probably, definitely, no, most definitely. Who am I even trying to kid? My favorite book of the year. What you think happens in this book doesn't really happen. I cannot really tell you because that would spoil it. But the thing that I was most afraid of didn't even end up happening, which, I mean, I guess it did in a way. They were beautiful quotes. There were sad quotes, heartbreaking, funny. There was everything in this book, and I do not know how the fuck I'm supposed to recover. Do I think it will be for everybody? No, because it's technically overwritten, and honestly, not that much happens, and you might not care for the characters either. But for me, whew, what a journey. I absolutely adored the fuck out of every single page that I read, and I am so sad that it's over. I genuinely contemplated, hi, putting this book down, like indefinitely, when I was about 100 pages from finishing it, just, so that I wouldn't finish it. I'm not going to be picking anything else up right now. I need to sleep on this. I need to emotionally recover. I need to just, become a new person, because this book somehow made me feel lighter and heavier at the same time. I don't know how that's possible, but genuinely, I am breathing easier, but I'm also breathing harder. Like, it's more difficult to breathe after finishing this book. I just don't know. It genuinely somehow altered me. Here's to hoping it doesn't send me down a depressive spiral, I guess, because, oh my god. Ocean Wong, thanks for fucking me up. I deeply appreciate it. I hope you do it again in the future. But what a feat, my man. Truly incredible. Incredible work. Hasn't happened since like Transcendent Kingdom, I think, and I read it like 5 years ago. Let's recuperate, and I will be back with you. For you in a second, for me, like 7 emotional hurdles later. Welcome back to our garden. I honestly think it's going to start raining in approximately 5 seconds, so we do not have that much time. But to briefly touch up on The Emperor of Gladness, now that I have mentally calmed down at least about that book. Otherwise, I don't think I'm mentally calm at all. I feel like I didn't manage to say anything about it that is in any way eloquent or selling you on the book in any way. I gave you the basic plot, and there's not much else going on other than that. It is about found family. It is about just a young boy who is struggling to keep himself alive. And it is about an elderly woman who is struggling to keep herself alive in a completely different way, and they appreciate life in a completely different way. If nothing else, this book is like a celebration of life, even though I cry so much. It is ultimately a celebration of life, and I love how it talks about how when you're young, your entire life seems like a desert in front of you, and you do not know how to cross it, whether you'll get any water to drink, whether you're gonna starve and die, or if it's going to be kind to you. And actually, it's not a desert, it's just like a little sandy playground. We don't know. And it's about how that desert that seems to spread out ahead of you when you're young just keeps getting smaller and smaller as you're getting older. And it is about having a fulfilling life and what that really means to have a life and to be alive, whether any type of life has value. And it very much is a testament to yes. It doesn't matter whether you are a sex worker, if you are a drug addict, if you work a part-time job at a diner, if you are elderly and you have dementia and you're starting to lose your memories. It doesn't matter. Every single life on this planet is worth celebrating, and that's sometimes very difficult to swallow, especially, and I don't mean this in a way of like every life matters, whatever. I mean this in a way when you are young and you are mentally ill. Specifically, what I mean,
I know that for me, that was incredibly difficult to swallow, and still is some days, that I would have any value in this world, or that I would be worth anything in this world. And just the message of that is sometimes very difficult to swallow for a person like me, is what I mean by that. Anyway, it is an excellent book. I am really shocked that it's not getting more recognition. I know that Oprah picked it, but I honestly couldn't give less of a fuck about Oprah, to be completely honest with you. Mostly, I'm shocked that I don't hear more about it in just general book circles. I feel like I don't watch anybody, and I watch people who read lit fic and who read general fiction and contemporary fiction. I feel like I haven't heard anybody talk about this book, and I think it's a goddamn shame. Anyway, I'm here to spread awareness. Read The Emperor of Gladness. Trigger warnings for what I said at the beginning. That still stands. It's a beautifully written book. It is a beautiful book overall. I love it. It is my favorite book of the year. I do not know how the fuck we're gonna move on from here, but regardless, the segue to Jar Way, we are here to persevere and to move along with our little journey because we still have 3 books to read. How lovely though that I had a 4 star and then like a favorite book of the year moment. It's a wild ride from here on out, I fear. This, I'm still wearing the same shirt. It's a time. Okay, but I'm going to pick out a book. For some reason, Buffalo Hunter Hunter is like kind of like Emperor of Gladness was, that's gonna be picked out. But imagine if it was Atmosphere. Take a shot every time I say imagine if it's Atmosphere, but not if you're underage, obviously. I picked out this little motherfucker. We're going to place this microphone down, and we're gonna discover what the fuck this book is that I'm gonna be reading. Imagine if it's Atmosphere. Wow, that would be a moment.
Okay. What's that say?
Last night when we were going to sleep, I was talking to her about what on earth I could pick out of this jar that would in any way help me not hate the book because The Emperor of Gladness was so good. And I said something like, it would probably be best if I pull out the nonfiction fan fiction. Well, I can always pull that out. Let's be real here. It would probably be best if I pull out the nonfiction because it would be the only palate cleanser because it's the only nonfiction in the pile. So that would probably be a good step between a fiction that literally utterly broke me and something else that's fiction. Is it true or not?
It is. It's very true.
Thank you. So I guess I manifested in a different way than I anticipated. Anyway, this is what we're going to be reading. I have to purchase it. I don't own it. It's one of the ebooks because I do not purchase nonfiction like ever because then it just gathers dust on my shelves in a different way than fiction because I never ever reach for it ever in my life. But this is where we're going to be reading. I will be wearing a different shirt in the next update. Feel free to hold me to that.
Hello and welcome to my stacks upstairs. It's Sunday, 11 p.m. I have fulfilled my promises. I'm wearing something else than I was wearing in the previous 75,000 clips, so I think we're good. Also, I finished my book. I figured I would not be updating you halfway through this book because it's 1, short, and 2, it's a nonfiction that really talks about just one issue, even though it encompasses a lot of smaller discussion topics in it, within it, whatever, you know what I'm trying to say. I really wanted to read One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against Us because I thought it was an interesting topic to be reading right now because technically it talks about 2023 and 2024 and the war that Israel is waging on Palestine. And it's interesting to read a piece like this when the thing is still happening because it's not like this book came out after it was over or after the war was over, because it's very much not. It's actively still happening, and it feels like the atrocities are getting worse and worse every single day. It was interesting. I think it talked about a lot more than just that, even though I feel like that's a really huge topic that we could cover on a lot more pages than we are currently covering them on. I feel like it took an interesting approach to the discussion because it not only discussed the war, it didn't focus on the history, it didn't talk at length about the Nakba or anything else that was happening there. It didn't talk about Israel. It didn't talk about Palestine in general. It more so talked about self-interest and democracy and how we view democracy. And it talked about media. I feel like those were the biggest topics that were covered here. And I quite enjoyed it. I don't know how people would react to it if you were not already like radicalized against this. I just saw an Instagram post today that was like a cutesy drawing that said like it's not radical to be against genocide. But I feel like that post itself should be a topic of discussion because like, so what if it was radical? Would you not be against genocide if it was radical? I feel like this talked a lot about how we tend to look away because we like to pretend that something doesn't concern us, and how that essentially means that we are just training a muscle for when something even more horrible happens, and then we will just be able to look away again, and how you shouldn't, and how it doesn't matter what you're doing against the genocide in Palestine or the atrocities that are happening in Congo, etc., because there's so much evil that is going on in the world right now. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Even if you feel like it's just a speck of sand, you still should throw it in the eyes of the people who are not actively against it. It made me think about a lot of things that I think about on a daily, especially with some artists speaking up, like Sally Rooney recently, for talking about books, saying that she will be donating her money to Palestine, and how she doesn't give a single flying fuck if that makes her a terrorist under a UK law. She's still going to do it. This book also talked about what it means to be a terrorist, and how war on terror really changed how we view these things as they happen. I don't know. It was really interesting because you have people like Sally Rooney, or you have people like Hosier, who are risking their professional careers on the daily every single time that they can. Hosier does the same speech every show that he does, where he talks about the crimes that are happening and that are being forced upon the people of Palestine. And he constantly has the number of deaths and child deaths on the huge screen behind him during concerts. And then you have people who have much bigger platforms, and I am going to be naming names because I just simply do not care. You have people like Taylor Swift who are silent in the face of these atrocities, and I do not understand why. Anyway, this book is really interesting. Again, I don't know if it's going to incite anybody or ridiculize anybody who is not radicalized, and I don't know what it's going to do to people, especially who are not radicalized, but they don't live in the US, because I feel like this is very America-centric, which is fair because I feel like people, especially there under the Trump administration, are a very specific group of people, let's put it that way. Draw a lot of lines between what this book talks about and our country's history, and how we were literally occupied by Russia for 20 plus years, and they invaded us with tanks and guns, and whoever didn't want to do what they wanted to do in August 1968, they were just straight up shot in the face. And still the people around me and the news around me, both here and Czech Republic, because we were Czechoslovakia back then, we are still covering Israel. Every time somebody puts on the news in this house, and I somehow unfortunately hear something from these sources, because it's especially TV channels, they are talking about Israel, but they are not talking about Gaza, they are not talking about Palestine, they are not talking about the genocide. And it is crazy to me that I live in this country and people who live in the Czech Republic are not saying anything, and they are not drawing the parallels, just because the people that this is happening to live far away and have a different colored skin than we do. It is insanity to me, and always will be. Same thing for Ukraine, which is literally my neighbor. You would not believe the xenophobia that I hear almost every day at my job about Ukrainians who are refugees in this country, because again, we are neighbors. So like, if you do anything or take anything from this vlog, go and read something that will further educate you on a topic, even if you feel like you're already educated. Have you seen the documentaries that are for free on YouTube? Have you seen the short films that are available on multiple streamers that showcase the life in Palestine? No. There you go. Click out of this and go. Go do that. Good book. Gave it 4 stars. I feel like, especially with books like this, you still need to be critical. One thing that I really didn't like is the spelling of anti-Semitic in this book. I feel like, especially if we are talking about the oppression of a people and about genocide and ethnic cleansing, you should probably research how to spell anti-Semitic. And Omar always spells it with a hyphen and with a capital S, and that is not what you should be doing. In case you didn't know, anti-Semitic should be spelled without the hyphen and with a lowercase s, because if you do otherwise, it pretty much just erases the fact that this was a movement against the Jewish people. Because Semitic is just a group of languages, including Arabic, Hebrew, it's not specifically Jew related. So there are still things that you should look into if you don't know them. Anyway, I think, and that's the point of this book, you shouldn't just consume media as it is given to you. You should employ your brain cells. I'm going to pull another book, even though I'm not going to read it right now because it's 11 p.m. on a Sunday. I'm not working tomorrow. It's a beautiful thing. I need to update you on my work situation like next time we speak, but I really don't feel like doing it right now. But I have the day off tomorrow, so we're going to pick from this. Imagine if it's atmosphere. At this point, I have to say it. It's like law. Like I am legally obliged to say the sentence. I think I'm going to go with this one, whatever this may be. Imagine if it is atmosphere though. Oh my god. Okay. What does that say? Well, that's not the atmosphere. I know what this is. This is another book that I don't own physically, but it is the book that is by one of the co-authors of This Is How You Lose the Time War. I can never remember the title. I think I talked about it because it reminds me of a fanfic I once wrote. The title, even though it's a different title. But that's the book we're going to be reading. I'm going to start it tomorrow, and I'm going to talk to you about it tomorrow. I might even read it in one go tomorrow, since I have the day off. That would be so cool. Anyway, look at this mug, essentially saying, we don't care about white authors here. We're only going to read people of color. And honestly, I fuck with it. I honestly fuck with it so hard. This mug has something in mind. So if we pull the Buffalo Hunter after this, the messaging is clear. The messaging is clear. And look at my ratings. I mean, it only has my best interest in mind. I'm gonna go get cozy in bed, and I'm gonna speak to you tomorrow, okay?
Good morning. Welcome to our sunny garden. It is Monday, 11 a.m. I already finished my book. I thought I had this grand plan in my head, right? I thought I would get up earlier. I got up just before 9 with my girlfriend because she starts work at 9. She works from home. So my grand plan was to get up around then, become a human person, and then read for a bit. And then it turns out that the 140 pages that I thought this book was is actually 90 pages. Otherwise, it's honestly just bonus content that I do not care for. I'm giving this 3.5. It was too short for me. It was too short for content for me. It is about two sisters who live next to the fairyland called Arcadia, which really just brings me back to Tom Stoppard's Arcadia, if you've ever heard of that play. Which is funny, because there's literally zero connection between the two, plot-wise or character-wise. Anyway, it is about two sisters who live next to the fairyland, and it is about the older sister. She's 2 years the senior, and it's about her having a relationship with a being from Arcadia, and then also being courted by this really sleazy man from their village. And it's about them being part of a family or dynasty that sings to the river and to the trees there and the willows, and it's about grammar somehow. And it honestly felt like a folky fairy tale that I am very familiar with where I come from. It's not plot-wise, but the atmosphere is very similar to a lot of fairy tales. If you don't know, Slavic countries really produce so many weird fairy tales a year. Literally. One of the Christmas traditions is like every TV channel has a new fairy tale that they want to premiere, and I do not care for them at all. I like the writing, but I definitely prefer her writing in This Is How You Lose the Time War. Plot-wise, like I said, it was really very too short. The stakes got too high at the end to call it a cozy fantasy, but honestly, it is very bite-sized and it's not dark. It has a gloomy, folky atmosphere, so if you vibe with that, you will probably vibe with this as well. It felt like a Florence and the Machine song, if I had to compare it to anything. So if you vibe with that, I think you will vibe with this as well. I just did not emotionally connect in any way, shape, or form. So because it was so bite-sized, yeah, it happened. I read it. I don't think I will remember it for a very long time, which is kind of a disappointment. And I think that's why I'm harsh on the rating as well, because this was definitely a 5-star prediction. I picked it up, I started reading, and I was like, imagine if this is another 5-star. What's going to be my top book of the month then? You know? Did not happen in the end, but such is life. Funnily enough, just to quickly touch up on what I was talking about yesterday in the acknowledgements, there's a whole ass page talking about the author. And to paraphrase, she literally says something like, as I'm writing this, Israel is literally bombing Lebanon and Gaza. And that just brings me back to the topic of everybody has a sort of platform that they can use, even if it's just to say that it's not okay to be quiet and to stay silent. And so few people do it anyway. Anyway, it was a beautiful connection to the previous topic that we were discussing. Amar El-Mahtar is... I don't know if she is Lebanese, but she talks about spending her childhood in Lebanon. So there's definitely a connection there, but that is trust, not the only reason why she's saying anything about it. I am like 110% convinced that she would be doing it even if that wasn't the case. Anywho, it's time to pick our last book, which is a scary thing to think about, because I feel like I thought this would take me so much longer than it has, but here we are anyway. We have, I think, 4 books left in the running, so technically, book-wise, we are exactly in the middle, but we only are reading one more book. At this point, I feel like if it's not Atmosphere, I should do it as an extra book in this vlog and just read it anyway, because I've been talking about it for 75 years, and I feel like it would be a disservice to everybody if I didn't pick it up and read it. But I have the exact same odds to picking Atmosphere as I am to picking the only other book that I don't own physically. So really, anything could happen. I have my little handy dandy mug here. I'm just gonna go in. It's kind of empty in there now that we're done with half of the thingy. I'm gonna say one last time, what if it's Atmosphere? What is that? I genuinely cannot read anything. Is it Wild Dark Shore? The one other book that I don't own physically. The odds were literally the same as Atmosphere. Anyway, it's another 5-star prediction, so I'm not mad. It's funny that it happened that way. Should I tack on Atmosphere onto this? I guess we'll decide when I'm done with this book. But should I? I'm kind of tempted. Yeah, I'm gonna go about my day, and then I'll read in the afternoon probably, but I just wanted to do this while it's nice out. And yeah. Okay. What are the odds? Happy Sunday. Not. I figured I should briefly talk to you about Wild Dark Shore because I'm kind of taking a break from reading it because I'm buddy reading something else with my girlfriend, namely And They Were Roommates by Paige Powers. And I figured I should take this time to talk to you briefly about Wild Dark Shore. I'm about 40% of the way through that book, so I figured it would be a good time. And I just do not want to talk about it. I honestly would quit this vlog at this point, but I really don't want to because it documents me reading The Emperor of Gladness, aka the best thing that has touched my heart in I don't even know how long. So we're going to talk about Wild Dark Shore, and I'm gonna persevere for once. Usually I would probably give up these days. If I just wasn't vibing, I would give up, but not tonight, not today, not this time. There's 2 sides of the story. One side is what I thought it was, and then the second side is what it actually is, and those 2 things are very different. I thought I don't know why. I think because I misremembered the summary because I read about this book back in January when I was looking for anticipated releases for the year. I think I misremembered what it was supposed to be, and I thought it was about a family who lives on an abandoned island, but after the flood situation, like the world has ended effectively, and we are now dealing with the after effects of that. But no, we're pretty much before. We are in the midst of the climate change as it is happening, and we do have a family living on an abandoned island pretty much. It is an island with a bunch of seeds that they are trying to protect, and in about 5 weeks' time, they are supposed to leave the island and move out because, they barely have a beach anymore because it's pretty much getting drowned in water and covered in water, kind of like New York in a couple decades. It begins with the biggest storm that the island has seen in recent years, and the family included, and a woman washes on the shore. And turns out that she's the wife of a person who used to live on the island but doesn't anymore. We don't really know what happened. We have the family, we have the father, the mother is no longer in the picture. We have the eldest son who is gay. Yay for that. We love queer rep in this house anyway, anytime, any point. The middle daughter, who is kind of an outcast even in the family, she's like, I don't want your shelter. I'm just gonna rough it out on the beach. And then we have the youngest son, who is like, I love botany. It's like literally his personality. I love botany and I love plants, and I'm gonna tell you all about them. There's literally a section where he just talks about dandelions for I don't even know how long. It's an experience. Anyway, and then we have the woman who clearly washes onto the island with the storm. My biggest problem, well, I have 2 problems. My 2 biggest problems with this is 1, it is overwritten. There's no other words for it. It's not overwritten as in it's flowery writing. It just feels like it's trying too hard to have flowery writing and it's not working, at least not for me. My other problem is that we get points of view from every single character, and you have the family, right? And they are like an open book. You understand them, you see where they are coming from, you're slowly learning more about their backstory. They are all interesting in their own way because they have been through a lot of shit together and it clearly left a mark on them. I mean, duh. How wouldn't it? And then you have the woman.
And she's like a closed book, and whatever we learn about her, I find deeply uninteresting. I don't care that you built a house. I don't care that you used to have a husband. Girl, oh my god. I got up in the morning. Nobody's celebrating that either, and it pretty much has about as much merit to me as you building that house, because I just do not care about you. Your voice, I don't like either. And my problem with that is because sometimes you just have characters like that that are like take a lot longer to like they're kind of like Shrek, you know, they have layers like an onion. And sometimes that's fine and that's good and dandy, but not when you get the longest chapters from them. Like, why are we getting like 15, 20-minute long chapters? Because I'm going by minutes because I'm reading it on my e-reader. Why are we getting such long chapters from you, but like 5 pages from like the littlest boy who is about 1,000% more interesting than you? I just do not understand it. Anyway, we are persevering because I refuse to DNF the last book in this vlog. It's not going to happen, but please know that I'm struggling and then it's not my favorite thing. But somehow, this might be me just completely just like manipulating myself and also gaslighting myself. I'm telling myself, girl, you read worse, first of all. Second of all, it might still surprise you. You have 60%. Oh my god, 60%. You have 60% left. It could still completely sweep you off your feet. Anyway, just figured I should talk to you because I know that I will just not want to because the book is not engaging to me at all whatsoever. So I thought I have a moment of freedom. And I'll tell you because I'm also removed from the book currently. Anyway, we're going to work on our puzzle, sit outside for a little bit, and I hate that it's pretty much fall weather. I hate it here. The person who loves summer. Thank you. I'm about to eat my words so hard. You have no idea. When I last spoke to you, I was 40% into Wild Dark Shore, which I have since finished. I finished it yesterday, which is technically today, because I finished it at 1 a.m. And as I was finishing it, I kid you not, I was bawling my eyes out the entire time. And then I went on Storygraph and I plastered a 4.5 on that bitch like there was no tomorrow. And this was my last chance to feel joy in life, even though I really just felt utter despair. I told you the plot of this book. I told you what it was about. I taught you what I didn't like about it. And then that changed. This book crept up on me like a fucking stalker in the night. I do not know what happened until the 50% mark. I could not care less. I honestly just persevered out of the goodness of my heart, or I don't know, deciding to stick to this vlog perhaps. I really don't know what it was. Something made me continue, and this is why I don't DNF very often, because look at me. That's a 4.5. That's a 4. On the one hand, it's like a hateful 4.5 because there are still some things that I really didn't like about this, and some of that have to do with the ending, if you know what I mean. I do not agree with how certain characters were treated. I could write a 5,000 page essay about why I don't like those things. Something about this book like emotionally affected me, and I do not know how to ignore that. And I was like, this is like an emotional 4.5, but I will say that I don't like how the women were treated in here, even though it was written by a woman. I was honestly surprised. I would have pegged this for a guy. And I feel like some characters were really way too lenient with a specific character in the second half of the book. I would have strapped that motherfucker to the bottom of a boat and sent it out. That would have been my way to deal with this man. But anyway, it was not what happened. And I don't know, it was interesting, but I really couldn't tell you why it affected me so much emotionally and why it made me cry like a baby. I literally at one point had to turn on my tummy in bed, because I was reading this in bed before sleep in the dark, okay, for like real depression feelings and atmosphere. I had to turn onto my tummy. I had to hold my head up, and at some point I was just doing this every 5 seconds because I was trying not to get my pillow wet 5 minutes before sleep. That's how badly I was sobbing. Yeah, so it affected me emotionally. I think that's why it's a 4.5. But if I were to think about it critically, and maybe I should, maybe it would be more like a 3.5, but I just do not have it in me right now. Ask me at the end of the year when I have some distance from the book and from the material, and I can organize my thoughts a little bit better. However, that wraps up this vlog. We are at 5 books, and pretty much all of them were a success. Like, even The River Has Roots I consider a success because I liked the experience of reading it, even if it wasn't the highest rated. But we literally had like 2 4 stars, 1 4.5, and 1 5. What kind of success rate is that for a modern day vlog? I really don't know, but it was fantastic. I had a grand old time, and I should do this again at the end of the year, I think. Brings me back to when I was reading my anticipated releases every month. So many of those books turned out to be on my list of favorites at the end of that year. And I stopped doing it because that project drained my soul, admittedly. But this really reminded me of those times because I essentially enjoyed my time with every single freaking thing I read here. I hope you did too. If you read any of these, let me know in the comments. If you haven't, let me know if I made you want to read any of them, especially The Empire of Gladness. For the love of God, read The Empire of Gladness if you can. Think about that book every day, multiple times every day. I love that book with my entire soul. Anywho, thank you for sticking with me. I have a feeling that this is very long because I was yapping, I think, the entire time. And I think most of it is because I was really trying to talk about the books, but I'm still looking for balance here. But thank you for sticking with it. If you did, I hope you enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun making this, and I had a lot of fun reading the books. It was just a very pleasant experience for me. I hope it was an okay experience for you. If you haven't subscribed, I would suggest that you do so. I really just focus on bigger vlogs these days, and I do not care about schedules, so it's always like a nasty surprise in your subscription box, and who doesn't want that? You know what I mean? Like a Kinder Joy for adults. So do that if you feel inclined to do so. Don't forget to like this video. I kind of hope that people watch this because I had such a good time filming it, but that's just my small little wish. And as I'm wrapping this up, I am going to film the intro to this vlog because that never freaking happened. That's what we're doing here today, and yeah, I will see you then. Toodaloo!